gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 15th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. Matt Shodell is on assignment this morning. I'm flying solo, so I thought we would do something a little different today. We'll be talking about the news of the day, obviously, but so much of that revolves around the end of week 1 of fall camp, the scrimmage that was held on Saturday night at Green Tree Practice Field, and all the questions that have come out of that. We've been addressing them over the weekend. I thought I would start today's show talking a little bit about the team, my impressions. I addressed a lot of it in a column on Thursday that was on the website, and now we've got some more information that's come in from Saturday's scrimmage, very much along the same lines of what I wrote for Friday morning, actually. Not a lot changed really from that open practice that we were able to watch from start to finish. And then all the reports that I've gotten in from the Saturday night scrimmage, a lot stayed the same. But let me just touch on some of those subjects, give you my thoughts on where the team is right now. And then we'll move on from there. So I'm just going to I'll start with the offense. I'll go through the positions and give you my general thoughts. Starting with quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke is obviously an elite performer, has not disappointed at all thus far in training camp. The big issue for Tyler, I see a couple issues. One, the receivers as a whole are probably not stepping up as much as everybody would like at the end of the first week. Xavier Restrepo has been unbelievable from the start of fall camp, but he's a possession receiver that's being asked to, do it all right now. And, that's a tall order. I personally feel for Xavier. I think he's going to have an unbelievable season. I think he will unquestionably, if he stays healthy, lead this team in receiving. I just don't think it's reality for him to carry the passing game, maybe to the degree that he has so far in camp. So I'm looking for them here in week 2 to try to get some of these other guys going. I'm thinking Keyshawn Smith is certainly a candidate for that. Romello Brinson showed some signs of life the last few days. We'll see if he can build on that in week 2. From there, it's a wide open slate. Jacoby George shows signs at times, but he's not bringing consistency. He's dropping balls in drills. He's got to really step it up. I asked a lot of questions about Frank Ladson after the scrimmage on Saturday, and every answer I got from multiple sources that were out there was they wouldn't have even known he was there. Okay, so and no, this is not me attacking Frank or whatever. It's just he has to do better. That's a guy that was brought here from Clemson with the idea that he would be a pivotal part of this offense, and that just has not happened to this point. He has to prove that he's not the reincarnation of D. Wiggins and Mark Pope. Just reality, keeping it real. And he's circled here this week, in my opinion, as we go into week 2, as a guy that has to step up. Colby Young is another transfer that shows flashes at times. We'll be looking for him to, now that he's comfortable and he's had a week of practice to get his feet wet, maybe start to assert himself a little bit more here in week 2. So we'll be, as we go out to practice later this morning and continue through the week, we're going to be looking for more from these receivers. The team needs it badly. And I know, some of you probably think I'm harping on this a little too much, but, here's my thinking. Like, there are going to be tight games this year. There are going to be fourth quarter moments where this team needs somebody to step up and make a play. And it can't always be Restrepo, and it can't always be Knighton or Henry Parrish. They're going to need a receiver to make plays down the football field. And I think it's critically important. And that's why I'm making it such a topic of discussion here as we move forward through training camp. But Van Dyke has been spectacular. Jake Garcia has been very solid, very good. He's not at Tyler's level. He doesn't have the experience, so why would he be? But as a backup quarterback, he's very solid. He can go out there and he can run the offense. And if he were ever needed to go into a game, I don't believe it would be a panic situation. I think that he will be far enough along by the start of the season that he could efficiently operate the offense if needed. Ja'Cory Brown, not going to go too much more into that. We beat that to death last week. We'll just see what happens here as they move forward through the fall with Ja'Cory. All right, running backs. That Trevante Citizen was banged up in the scrimmage. Our initial reports that we have gotten is that it is not that serious, but nothing official yet, nothing firm yet. So I don't want to jump to too many conclusions there. But hopefully Trevante's okay and he can return to practice at some point and maybe eventually participate as the season goes on. Got really good reports off the scrimmage about Jalen Knighton and Don Chaney. Chaney's working his way back from the injury. Showed some good flashes in the scrimmage the other night, and is going to be right there in the competition for playing time. There's no doubt about it. So Don Chaney is the guy that we're going to be watching hard here as we go into week 2 of training camp. The tight ends, from what I can gather, didn't really do a ton in the scrimmage, but I can tell you that from my observation, Elijah Arroyo's first week of practice has been sensational. I think that he, as much as anybody, has taken a big step forward from last season, and you're going to see him make a big contribution this year with Will Mallory. The one that I've been kind of surprised by is Jaleel Skinner. He is probably not as far along as maybe would have been expected because of the recruiting hype that he received coming into the program. What happens in so many of these cases is they get here and there's a reality that they are still true freshmen, okay? And being a true freshman in a major college football program is not the easiest thing, and it's not easy to walk in and make a major impact. And, Jaleel, I would use the term swimming. I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but he's probably been swimming a little bit. He's dropping some balls. He's trying to learn all his responsibilities. I am not anticipating a ton is going to be asked of him early in the season, and we'll just see what happens as things unfold. It's still very early for Jaleel Skinner. No reason to jump to conclusions after 1 week there. But the first week was slower than maybe some of us, including myself, might have thought it would be, just based on all the buzz around his recruiting. Offensive line did a really good job of pass blocking in week 1. They're really mastering the techniques that are being taught to them by Alex Mirabal. But the place where they struggled out of the gate once they went to full pads and full contact work was in run blocking. And, I think I'm not overreacting to that personally. They're being taught new techniques, new schemes. They're probably thinking a lot on their feet, and they have to get comfortable with it all. And you can't really, you can practice it, obviously, when you're in shells and thin shorts and all that. But the truth of the matter is, at least in my opinion, until the offensive linemen put on full pads and go full bore in executing their plays, I think it's hard for them to really get chemistry with each other, timing down. And I think there'll be a steady progress. And I would bet maybe even as soon as scrimmage 2 next weekend that the offensive line is performing considerably better than it performed in the run game here the last few days once they went to full pads. We'll see what happens there. The wait is on for Zion Nelson to return at left tackle. Have heard really good things about Jalen Rivers' work out there on the practice field. Ja'Kai Clark's been doing very, very well at center. But they need Zion Nelson back. Zion Nelson is kind of like a rock over there at left tackle, and I think his brace is off. He looks like he's making progress towards getting back, and maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll see Zion Nelson back on the practice field. That I think would be a big thing for the offense in general. All right, I talked about the receivers a little bit earlier, so I won't rehash all that. But to sum up the offense, look, they started the scrimmage on Saturday night and went right down the field. It was a very efficient drive. They had their moments throughout the scrimmage, but the defense did too. And to me, like, that's a good sign that both sides of the ball in the organization are having their moments in practice. It's not dominated by one side. It's not lopsided. It's legitimate, good competition, play after play after play, and each side is having some success at different moments. So, I think the offense probably would probably give itself like a B- after week one. Would like the offensive line to be run blocking better. Would like for the receivers to be emerging better in the passing game. I would say those are the two things that are probably at the top of the list going into week 2 of camp. All right, let's talk about the defense now a little bit. And, one of the things that has been a good sign of progress to me is the defensive line. They have been doing an extremely good job the last few days in practice. And the thing that I think is the differentiator is all the bodies that were brought in through the transfer portal. They have a lot of depth now. And what's going to happen once the season begins is they are always going to have fresh bodies in the game. And to me, that's maybe the greatest edge, other than Van Dyke and the fact that he's going to be better than pretty much any quarterback that lines up on the opposite side of the field. I would say the depth at defensive line might be the differentiator for this team. Might be the aspect that makes the biggest difference in games against teams that you would say supposed to beat, that have never been supposed to beat in Miami's history in the ACC. But in all those games this year, I think that the defensive line depth can make a huge difference and make the defense overall considerably better than it's been, and tilt the scales a little bit in Miami's favor. What all that means, we'll talk about later, but in terms of wins and losses. But I think the defense can be a bigger part of this team in terms of impact than maybe a lot of us thought coming into training camp or looking at the season in the months leading up to the start of camp. And that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's really good, and I think the play up front has been allowing guys like Wayman Steed to perform a little bit better. Caleb Johnson has been doing pretty well thus far in training camp. So some good signs in the front seven. I think you're going to see Chase Smith involved in some things this fall and able to make an impact. I think you're going to see a lot of James Williams down in the box doing different things and making an impact. And I think Cam Kinchens is a guy that's too good to leave on the sideline. And, I think he's going to cut into Avante Williams reps, regardless of who starts the game. But the defense seems to be coming together pretty well. The secondary is doing a nice job for the most part. When they're in 11-on-11 work, they seem to be covering relatively well. The passing yards aren't coming easy. The deep ball is not being given up. So just a lot of good signs all around, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the ball. All right, so everyone wants to know how many games can this team win? We're not going to make that prediction yet. I still can't get past the lack of, I would say, and you guys have heard me say this before, difference-making talent, elite level talent. There's not a lot of elite level talent on this roster. There's a lot of talent. We talked about depth, for example, on defensive line. But guys that are going to be drafted in the upper tier of the draft, I'm not sure there's a ton of that on this team. And I just think that there are going to be moments where, like I said earlier, you need your elite football players to make a play. And who do they turn to in those moments? And does that make a difference in a game or two? That's going to be tight. You're going to have your normal 5-6 really tight football games. There's no doubt about it. And do they have that dude? Who is going to be the guy that gets them out? You know, the way the Michael Irvins and the Willis McGahees used to do in all those games in the past. Who is going to make the big plays to get them out of Dodge? And that's my biggest question right now. We don't need to make predictions yet. We still got 3 weeks before the season starts. But that's at the forefront of my mind personally as we go into week 2 of training camp. So how does all that tie into the news of the day and the stories on the website this morning? Well, the first one is a mailbag that I started yesterday where I take everybody's questions and answer them. So, I urge everybody to take a look at that. There's a lot of really, really good ones in there. Covering a whole wide range of topics. I won't get into it on this show right now, but I encourage everybody to read that. It's all built around a message board thread, and I'd urge everybody to read through that and at all the questions and answers. A bunch of really good ones covering a lot of topics. All right, we've got some other news of the day to cover here before we go, obviously. But first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I know what you're thinking. Why do I get to star in my own commercial? Well, I was Life Wallet's first female athlete. So let me be the first to let you in on a little secret on how I've grown my NIL. Introducing Life Wallet Sports, a revolutionary platform giving athletes complete control over their NIL opportunities, connecting athletes to brands and businesses specific to their followers' likes and interests. And if that's not enough, this platform also helps athletes make connections outside their sports. So let's get connected on Life Wallet Sports. Take it from me. It's a hole-in-one.
All right, now let's talk about the other news of the day. We'll be back on the practice field this morning, so we will have tons of news for you as the day continues. Depth chart shakeups. We'll hear from, I'm sure, Mario Cristobal and some of the players after the drills end, what they thought of the scrimmage. So about midday today, we'll have a lot of that coming at you on the website. This morning, we also take a look at an interesting topic. Can Tyler Van Dyke throw 40 touchdowns this season? Is it possible? We analyze that. We also have an update with a Georgia linebacker that the Canes are pushing hard for in this year's recruiting class. His name is Marcellus Pulliam, and he has set his Miami official visit date, and he updates us on where things stand, so make sure you check that out. Plenty of news also over the weekend. We talked about all the scrimmage stuff that you can check out. But one of the more interesting stories revolves around Emory Williams, the quarterback commit, and out of Milton, Florida. He is a popular guy right now. A lot of schools are approaching him and his family to see if there's an opening for them. Florida State, Auburn, and so far, Emory Williams remains committed to Miami. But I think the one thing that's pretty obvious is that there's still a little bit of work to do there to solidify that. I expect the Canes to be all over that. And, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I think, Emory Williams still probably has to try to get an NIL deal. I don't know that he has that yet. So I'm sure that's part of all this that's going on. Schools are promising him NIL deals and things like that. And I'm not sure that he has signed a deal yet with Life Wallet or the Cane Connection collective or anybody. I have not heard of Emory Williams having an NIL deal to this point. So all of that, I would say, has to come together here over the next several weeks. And I think it will. And unless Emory Williams is predisposed to not wanting to be at Miami, which I don't think is the case, that's certainly not what he has told us to this point. I think Emory Williams will get solidified to the Hurricanes. That's how I feel about it right now. We'll let you know if anything changes. We also had some great insight over the weekend with Tyler Van Dyke, Jafari Harvey, Jalen Rivers. If you missed that, make sure you check that out. On Saturday, we had updates with commit Robbie Washington. And we had some interesting news on a new defensive line offer who's committed to Duke right now, Terry Simmons. But he is an under-the-radar defensive tackle prospect that Miami has gotten on here at this stage of the game. And I'm expecting the Canes to recruit him really hard and expect him to visit at some point in the fall. We also had an update on the Lumen twins, which are a couple twin brothers locally here in Dade County. That's kind of a cute little story. I think you guys will like that. And also a story on former Miami quarterback Malik Rozier and how he's helping out current Cane players. So make sure you check that out. All right, kind of a short and sweet show for you here today since I'm flying solo. But like I said, be on the website midday. We will have news from the practice field. We'll be out there this morning, and should be a lot of it coming out of camp today. So make sure you're on the website around the middle of the day. So for absentee Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you as always for starting your day off on Good Morning CaneSport, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.